Hello there, friends, and welcome to the Paranatural Podcast. My name is Ben.
And I'm Jake.
And tonight, Jacob is going to take us through a little bit of a mind fuck as we discuss the Mandela Effect. Jacob, how you doing tonight, buddy?
About to have my mind fucked.
Yeah, this is a weird one. This is definitely a weird one, and I have fallen prey to a few of them in my day, so...
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot of us have.
I think so, too. So, as we go through the episode, if you guys want to chime in, you can do that either via email at paranaturalpodcast@gmail.com, or you can join our Facebook group. Just look up the Paranatural Podcast on Facebook. You can join the conversation on this or any subject. You can post memes in there, whatever the hell you want to do. So, with that being said, Jacob, take her away, buddy.
All right. Have you ever remembered something completely differently than others? Where both of you Did you just say something?
I was going to make up my girlfriend tells me all the time she told me stuff, and I don't think she did, joke.
Yeah, so I'll touch on that for like 14 seconds.
All right.
Women are always right.
Lies!
Not.
A lie was born.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how many ladies we have listening to this wonderful podcast, you're right. But if there isn't many women, you're not right. Men are right. Get over it. Okay.
All right, moving on.
Okay. So, about the remembering completely different things. Both of you can swear that you're right no matter which way the facts point. It could be something as simple as a wrong memory, or perhaps you both... What is going on with my notes? Both could be... Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well.
Okay. Something as simple as a wrong memory, or perhaps you both could be right. How can this be, you ask? When the two memories couldn't be more different, what if I told you that there could be a ripple in reality to where both memories happened, but one stayed in this version of the universe and the other happened in a nearly identical reality? Sounds incredibly strange and unbelievable, but there are many who believe this is happening right under our noses. There is something called the Mandela Effect, and it is believed to be collective false memories. This is where a group of people remembering something that never happened or happened at a completely different time. So, Benjamin, we are going to get into some of the commonly known false memories.
Well, just out of curiosity, do you have in your notes why it's called the Mandela Effect?
I'm getting into that.
All right, good deal.
Silly.
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm just starting with some of the little guys first.
Ah, okay.
All right.
We guys.
Yeah, we're going into probably your childhood.
I think he just called me old.
Geezer. So I'm going to say it. I want you to say it how you have always said it.
All right, bet.
Berenstain Bears.
Fuck you. It's Berenstein. It always has been and it always will be.
It's exactly what I was hoping you were going to say. Something as simple as spelling / pronunciation
can drive a word?
People crazy. Sounds right.
Pretty sure it's pronunciation, bud.
Pronunciation.
Pronunciation. We're going to pronuncificate it.
Yeah. Pronunciation. Don't laugh at me. I've been sick. Okay. Can drive people crazy, like Benjamin is driving me crazy now. Many people believe that it used to be the Berenstain Bears, and it always has been, with an E.
It is.
However, research shows it has always been Berenstain Bears with an A.
Lies.
Yeah.
A lie was born.
Now, this one's going to hit even harder to our nerdy audience. Let's go to Star Wars for a second. Darth Vader, one of his most famous quotes, Luke, I am your father. Wrong.
You are
He-
correct, sir.
He never said that. What he said is, no, I am your father.
No, I am your father.
Yeah, doesn't even sound right. So
Now,
Luke.
That one I think there is an explanation for, though. And the explanation is this. If you just walk around quoting the words, no, I am your father, you're not giving that any context. So I think when the movie was new, that being such a revelatory moment in the film, I think they added the Luke kind of on accident just to give it that context.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean? Like,
for the sake of this whole story, there's people who are gonna remember it. Luke, I am your father. Like,
right,
they will
of course they
swear
will.
their whole paycheck away.
And the reason that they remember it that way is because that's the way you hear it most often, quoted outside of the movie. Not everybody is like me and has watched Star Wars 43,376 times. So you actually watch the movie twice, but you hear the quote 1,000 times.
All right. We're gonna get into another one
Okay, here we go.
that I'm guessing you will have something to say about.
Let's go.
We're going to Hollywood.
Where the streets are paved with gold.
The movie Kazam. Who plays in it, Benjamin?
Look, here's the deal. My logical mind knows that there is no such movie starring Sinbad as a genie called Kazam. But I remember seeing that fucking movie, all right? I remember watching it, and no, I'm not confusing it with what I'm sure you're about to talk about, which is the movie Shazam, starring Shaquille O'Neal.
Other way around, actually.
Huh?
Other way around. Kazam is Shaq. Shazam didn't happen until like 2018.
Okay, whatever. Either way, I remember watching a movie starring the comedic actor Sinbad, where he played a genie. I have memories of this, but I know in my logical mind it doesn't exist, and that fucks me up every time. So go ahead. Yeah. I'm just gonna take a breath now.
So there are a few theories on what's wrong here. One theory is that Shaq didn't actually play the genie. It was actually Sinbad. Many remember this very clearly. The other theory is that Shaq was the genie in Kazam, but there was another movie around the same time called Shazam starring Sinbad as a genie. Both of these are very popular theories, but if you look it up, Sinbad has never played a genie.
Yeah, and I remember both movies occurring around the same time, kind of like an Ants and Bug Life scenario.
Yep.
Where two very similar movies came out around the same time. And it fucks my mind up that did not exist. Like, even more than the Berenstein thing.
Yeah.
That fucks, because I remember seeing it.
Yeah, I like, for my whole life, I thought that's what I knew Sinbad from.
Right.
Yeah. So now we're going to go to a board game. Monopoly. Most of us has played it or seen it played. How about the Monopoly guy? How do you remember him?
Yeah, I'm aware of this one too, and a lot of people remember him with the monocle.
Yes, sir.
And I do too, although I'm not sure why. You know, like, that one doesn't mess me up as much.
So right before we started recording, I actually came up with what could actually explain this. But I'm going to go through this real quick. So, friends out there, what does he look like? Quite fancy, yes. Sophisticated. He wears a tux, a top hat, big old mustache. And what could complete the look? A monocle. Apparently not. The fancy little turd never sported a monocle. It looks wrong without it. It looks like it's missing, but it was never there. even though many people remember it on his face. Now, peanut butter. That's what I'm going into.
I just had the
Mr.
same thought.
Peanut.
Yep,
Yeah.
just now. Yep, sure. Yep,
Exact same get up, but he's got the monocle.
yep,
So
he
like
sure does.
maybe crisscross those.
Yeah, I just had the same thought while you were talking about it. It's like, huh,
Yeah.
Mr. Peanut got the top hat and a cane and a monocle.
Yep. Now we're gonna go to one of the most famous pieces of art in history. Like 1501, I think it was made. The Mona Lisa. How do you remember her looking?
Obviously, like, you want like a full description? Dark hair, kind of dour expression.
Dour expression, which means like resting bitch face.
I kinda, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe a slight smile, but not.
Okay. So hair is dark just past the shoulders, eyes that almost focus on you no matter where you're at, and a pretty blank expression on her face, right? Wrong. She has always worn a big old smile on her, well, a smile on her face. But if you look at it, it just looks wrong. Like she shouldn't be smiling.
I am going to googly moogly this right
Yeah.
now.
She's got 5 kids, nothing to smile about.
Yeah, I guess okay, so I just hit the googly mooglies and opened up the image tab and confirmed she is smiling more than I
Yeah.
in memory thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I do. I remember her having a more flat dour expression than she turns out. Yeah, if you remembered it like I do, guys, just give that a Google. It's a little weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, and all of history shows that she looks like that ever since the painting. So, yeah, just what the fuck, right? Now we're going Disney.
All right, hit me with it, Big Daddy.
Something well known like Snow White even has this crazy shit happening. Let's go to my girlfriend of the film, the Evil Queen. One of the most famous quotes in the entire movie, mirror, mirror on the wall. At this point, you might have guessed it. You might have guessed what I'm going to say. The quote's wrong. What my Disney babe actually said was magic mirror on the wall.
That is true.
So many people misquote this, and so many people remember her saying mirror, mirror on the wall. Even Shrek. Mirror, mirror on the wall. They're getting all this from Disney movies. So why did Lord Farquaad say that when it was magic mirror on the wall?
You know, that's a good one because so like the Star Wars misquote, I can see why that would have been misquoted.
Mm-hmm.
But actually saying magic mirror gives you more context than just saying mirror mirror. Because it wasn't just any mirror she was speaking into. It was indeed a magic mirror.
Right.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I assure you that in this faulty reality, that's what she said. But, bullshit, whatever. We're going to go back to another great, well-known movie, Forrest Gump.
Best accidental comedy ever.
Yeah, truly the universe can't fuck with that. Sorry to say, but it won't even leave a gem like that alone. Most famous quote of the movie: "Life is like a box of chocolates."
You never know
Wrong.
what you're gonna get.
Yeah, so wrong. What was actually said was life was like a box of chocolates. Now, that doesn't sound right to me because it sounds like he's telling the story from a dead person's perspective. Like, his life is still going as he's telling the story, even if it's in the past. Life, it just doesn't sound right to me. Leave the classics alone, universe. Go ahead, chip in.
I'm just thinking about the quote in general, and it actually does make sense that he would say, life was like, Mama always said life was like a box of chocolates. He's quoting his mother, who is indeed dead.
Hardly.
Rip
She's only
Sally
kind
Fields.
of dead. All right. Now, what Benjamin asked what I was going to do. How about the life of a real person? Not any person, but a South African president, Nelson Mandela. The universe can't affect a real person, right? Wrong. Benjamin, when did Nelson Mandela die?
2000 and something.
Okay.
But
Is
yes,
that what you've always believed?
I know what you're referring to, and that is the fact that a lot of people seem to remember having watched his funeral. What, in the 80s, I think?
So there's actually 3 stories to this.
Ah, hit me with it, Big Daddy.
Okay. 80s, died from abuse in a prison.
Mm-hmm.
90s, died from illness in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And 2013, December 5th.
Died after
died.
having been president of South Africa and
Yep.
Right.
Died from an illness at 95 years old.
Right.
Okay. Now, how can so many people believe this when everything points to him actually being dead in 2013? Well, so if you thought the prison death was correct, you're far from alone. A shit ton of people remember him dying in prison, including his own wife. His wife was with him when he died in 2013, yet she swears she remembers him dying in prison 20 years earlier.
This is one I have not heard yet. This part of it.
Okay. How can that be? Maybe the universe gave him a second chance. But during his obituary, I couldn't find the actual interview, but she was going into details about how he died the first time back in 1993 in prison. But that's his own wife who was right there with him when he died in 2013, and she still believed that he died in 1993 in
Now,
prison.
I do know. So when he was in prison, he went on what became a very famous hunger strike that was very publicized even during the time.
Yeah.
So I wonder if people aren't conflating the two to think that he died of the hunger strike, but he really didn't.
I think if his own wife believes that he died in the 90s, there's got to be something to it. So, could it be that he did die in the 90s and reality kind of split to where he did die in the 90s, but he also died in 2013? Who the hell knows?
I'm trying to look up something right now, and I cannot find anything that says she said it. Might be just one of those things that's hard to find too.
I still have it up on my laptop. I think I can post the article on the Facebook page, or I'll send it to you. All right.
Beautiful.
All right. So that's it for the well-known stuff. Now we're going to get into the really fucked up stuff. Yeah. So this one is relatively new for me. The Mandela Effect. Could it be responsible for the disappearance of entire cities and all the people residing in them? Which is basically genocide. Well, there's a large chunk of ocean right off of Maryland where people remember having many cities because it wasn't underwater. That is very, very many lives that just stopped existing. Natural disasters are awful and are responsible for many deaths, but those people are remembered and mourned. With this glitch, those people are not only lost their life, but lost their existence privileges too. Where do those people end up if they just cease existing in our reality?
A different one.
Yeah, you would think, or they just like no more, no people to remember. It's a very scary thought to me. Like, people say tomorrow isn't promised. What if the last 20, 30, 40 years of your life isn't promised? You just stop existing and nobody remembers you ever existing.
Would you even know?
Who knows?
Ooh.
Yeah, but
I'm having a ucky feeling right now.
Yeah, tomorrow's not promised, but neither is my last 28 years.
I don't want to poof out of existence.
Yeah, neither do I. So, yeah, right off of Maryland and part of Virginia, actually, there's land masses you can see that are shallow, but people swear that they used to be above water, used to hold cities, used to hold thousands and thousands of people that just never existed.
So are they saying this as in like it happened in current times?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very real fact that like during ice ages and such, when the water levels were much lower,
yeah.
there were cities on under what we now know of as ocean.
Yeah, but this is shallow enough to where they would have been able to find at least some sort of clue that something was there once. There's
Gotcha.
Nothing. So one that I kind of forgot to bring up with the common ones, but this one I find it interesting and I like to see what people think. So if people are listening to this, please comment and tell me what you think.
That's easiest done in the Facebook group or email us at paranaturalpodcast@gmail.com. You can also just go to our website and use the contact form.
Pretty fucking tempted to give out my number at this point. So, the Statue of Liberty. So many people remember, I think it's going up in the torch for vacations, and like they have pictures from up there, they have pictures of it all. And they go to look for those pictures, the pictures are gone. Like they have pictures from that vacation, but they're different. They're not in the torch, they're not up on the torch. Apparently, you have never been allowed to go up in the torch. But many people remember going up there on their vacations.
See, now I have never been to New York City and I've never seen the Statue of Liberty, but I do remember hearing that, and this totally even this contradicts what you're saying, is that I remember having heard that you could go up there at one time, but it's been closed down for a long time.
People,
so that's weird that there's
2000s have reported going up there.
It's weird there's even a third story around that.
Yeah. So that one always, I love hearing what people say about that, because I remember in 5th grade my teacher going into about how he went up in the torch, but apparently he never did. That, now thinking back, that was my very first encounter with the Mandela Effect. And that was in 2005.
Thanks, I hate it.
Yeah. All right. Now this one is, I'd be surprised if anyone knew about it. And this one really messed with my head. So this one I know by heart because I have read about it so much. But it's in Michigan, Tawas City. I always feel like I pronounce that wrong, but that's the only way I've ever heard it pronounced.
There are a lot of cities in Michigan that if you pronounce them like they're written, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. So there's not a name for this. Like, the person who wrote it gives names in it, but he doesn't ever share his own. I don't know if he's just trying to keep quiet with his name. So like it might have not even happened in Michigan, but this is where he says he was attending Ferris State University while he wrote this and when all of it was happening. So he's going to college and they're learning about Nelson Mandela in an earth science class because it was the last day of,
that seems like not the place you'd learn about Nelson Mandela.
So apparently the teacher was super cool. It was the last day and they took their exams early in her class so that the teacher wanted them to have time to do all their classes and study and whatnot. Awesome teacher. So the last day, she says she wants to talk about something that is really close to her heart, and it's the Mandela Effect. Asking the students when Nelson Mandela died. Oh goodness, what is it? The super famous pharaoh. Can't even think of his name.
King Tut.
Yes, thank you. How do you remember his mask, his burial mask?
Tut's, I don't really remember at all.
Okay.
They all, in my mind, they all looked fairly similar.
It's just like a face, right?
Yeah, face with the little pointy beard
Yeah.
thing and the snake thing.
Yeah. So
my hand gestures were really helpful on an audio
Yeah,
medium.
yeah. So people remember the snakes. People remember birds. People
I don't remember bird. I remember snakes. The cobra. The cobra on the forehead.
Two of them.
I only remember one.
Yeah. So that's another one of the popular things. But people remember birds. People remember one snake. People remember anything up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually two snakes.
That one, I guess that one's kind of easy for me to see because like the other popular one would be like Ramses was another real popular pharaoh unburial and things like that. And then if you look in pop culture, you get the one snake a lot. Most of us are way more familiar with like The Mummy Returns than we are with what actually a mummy looks like. So
that's exactly what mummies look like. Brendan Fraser knows firsthand.
I'm sure he does. As long as it's not that abomination CGI Dwayne Johnson.
Oh my gosh. There's a scary story of its own.
Hey, yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah. Okay, so they discuss it all, and he forgets about it for a while, but he's talking to a friend of his that he went to all of school with, like from the very beginning of school. He's talking to his friend, and he mentions they should get together with their class, and they start talking about how small the classes were and all that stuff. And his friend's like, yeah, let's get all 14 of us together. The person telling the story is like 15. Like, no, I remember it very well. There's 14. And so they get into a little argument. They name all the names. They come across, the main character says one name. Her name in the story is Eve. The other guy has no idea who he's talking about. He remembers every detail about her, like goes into what she wore. She always wore a dress, how her hair looked, what car her parents picked her up in after school, so on and so forth. And like it's starting to mess with his head. Like there's no way he doesn't remember it. But so they get this class reunion together, like even invite the teacher, but the teacher can't come. Everyone else comes. And
Everybody?
Buddy.
Oh,
It was like an orgy, buddy.
that was a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. The sad thing is he says there was only 4 girls in this class of 14 or 15.
Hey, we are not here to judge.
I mean, I watched Sausage Party. It looked like fun.
Unless your name is Norman Westfall and you go by Mahatma Ashkabuchi.
Ashtabushtabu. Yeah.
That's a reference to the last episode. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Listen to it if you haven't listened to it, guys. So he's waiting for this girl to show up. Just so he can like know that he's not mental. She never shows up, and like they're all talking in the group and whatnot. The question comes up on his mind. So he's like, "Hey, guys, where's Eve?" And everyone's like, "Who the fuck are you talking about?" One person's like, "Yeah, I've been thinking that the whole time." And everyone else is like, "There's no Eve." Like, so they get into an argument about it. There's only 2 people who remember this girl, but they remember her in the same exact details, the exact same stories, even pictures, like school pictures, how they lined up, because there was 5 girls and how many ever boys? 10 boys. Like they lined up a certain way because of the numbers, but when they look back through the pictures, it just looks wrong because there's only 4 girls. So there will be like 2 on this side, 1 in the middle, 1 on this side, instead of 2 on this side, 2 on this side. Like there's something missing. So they're getting really freaked out about it, the 2 people that remember her. And the other guy who remembers her, he's like, "No, you guys are crazy. Remember, I wrote her a love note and the teacher took it. And everyone laughed at me because the teacher was going to read it." And they're like, "No, we have no idea what you're talking about." So this goes on, and he's trying to forget because it's messing with his head. But he gets a text from the other guy who remembers her, and he says, "You remember that you took the note off the teacher's desk? Do you still have it?" He's like, "Yeah, I might actually." He was at his parents' house because that's where he went to school. So he was back at his parents' house for the whole reunion thing. So he goes through the storage garage thing looking for this note, to no avail. He doesn't find it. But a couple of days later, there's a group message from the teacher. Says, "I missed my favorite class. I wish I could have made it out there, but blah, 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 blah reasons." And then she posts a picture that one of the girls drew for the class. And it clearly shows 5 girls, 10 boys.
Oh, fuck me. You know, if it was
up, right?
If it was just the original author of the story, you know, saying, "I remember a girl nobody else does."
Yeah.
That's just a shit memory, or, you know, dissociative thing maybe at the worst, or just misremembering, period, dot. Having for some reason inserted a girl maybe he knew at school into his class that wasn't actually in his class. You know what I mean? But when you get the other person that remembers her and remembers very specifically, like writing her a love note or whatnot, and then the teacher
having the picture.
Right,
Yeah.
has a picture. That gets a little weird at that point.
Yeah. And like there's not anything else really on it. Like apparently like they were trying to disprove like saying, "Oh, she drew the teacher," but like apparently the teacher is in the picture as well.
Right. So
So
yeah,
there's
assuming that's not
six
just
girls.
assuming that's just not some sort of Reddit shit post. That's fucking weird.
Yeah. Yeah, so that one really gets me thinking like what if you had a best friend for like 20 years that like even yesterday just stopped existing and you have no memory of it? What if you had a kid? What if you had this or that and you just don't anymore?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. So like that's pretty much all I got for like what I wanted to write down. There's so many more stories on this, and I would really like to do another episode on this because
Yeah, there are a ton of examples of what falls into the category of Mandela effect.
yeah, and it fucks with my head so much, but it's also one of the big reasons why this subject is so close to me because like I am a huge what if kind of person, and this is possibly one of the biggest what ifs of all time.
All right, so what do you think is happening here?
What do I think? All right, so I'm gonna do a couple of theories that like stuck out to me.
Let's go.
Okay, one, as I mentioned earlier, alternate reality. At some point, they were together and then they split to the point where people remember things happening in the other universe, in the other reality, but it kind of like those thoughts carried onto this reality where things happen differently. And the only thing keeping that reality alive is the shit memories we have of it. Like, it's so like for one, two, three people to have a wrong memory, it's whatever. But when masses of people are just dead set that it was this way,
Which is what you get into with some of the more popular ones, the Berenstein versus Berenstain, the
yeah,
Nelson Mandela dying in the 80s versus the 2000s, things like that. Yeah, it's masses of people, or the Sinbad movie,
yeah,
just like thousands and thousands or hundreds of thousands of people remember it one way, and then the same amount of people remember it the other way. And that does get it, that makes me feel a little ooky more than about. And when it gets to me myself with the Berenstain, it's like, oh my god, like, is my memory that bad?
but there's so many more people who
Right, there are a ton
remember.
of people that remember what I remember.
Yeah, yeah, like I said, that is where I know Sinbad from, but it never happened.
Right.
Like now all I got on him is that he's a comedian and he was in American Dad. That's all I got on him. But like I swear he was a freaking genie.
I mean, I remember him being in a few other movies. You know, he's in one movie that came out around that time. I can't remember the name. First Kid, I think, is the name of it, where he plays a bodyguard to the president's son. You know, I remember that movie. He was in another movie called The Cherokee Kid, which was like a comedy western movie.
Yeah, I remember that one.
So I know the actor from a various different places. I still remember him being a genie in a movie.
It was a genie.
Like, And it's just like, yes, like I said, logically, I know that's not true, but you cannot convince my memory that it doesn't exist.
Because it's set in there.
It is. It's like cemented in there.
So yeah, there's that theory where like a reality split. Another is there's just an uncountable amount of realities that are parallel with our own with slight changes. Goes along the glitches in the matrix kind of shit.
Because we live in a simulation.
Yeah. I'm like,
And
I'm
the-
gonna do an episode on that because that shit fucks with my head too.
The moon is a transmitter that transmits the simulation down to us, and it's the lizard people that run it.
I think
I said all of that like I believe any of that bullshit at all.
yeah. So you're way wrong. If you ever watched Wallace and Gromit, the moon is made of cheese.
I am well aware. I seen that. They went to the moon.
Yeah.
And ate
Yeah.
cheese.
You can't disprove that shit.
Right. Wallace and Gromit said it must be true.
That's right. Claymation at its finest. Other than what was that other one? On HP Matchbox. You remember? Crashbox.
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking
Or
about.
Celebrity Deathmatch.
Celebrity Deathmatch was a good one.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Backstreet Boys versus NSYNC.
I have actually heard your multiple worlds crash or your multiple universe timelines crashing into each other thing differently. Where you heard it that they split, I heard it that they crashed into each other. And like, so like let me see if I can explain this. So the reality that I was from, it was Berenstein bears. And the one that crashed into us was Berenstain bears. And then for whatever reason, things kind of had to jumble up and take each other's places. And then wound us up where we are now. And if that's the case, then I blame CERN. With their Large Hadron Collider.
Yeah.
And their big fucking statues and their bullshit. We're gonna we'll probably get into like a whole episode on CERN and what the fuck those creepy weirdos are doing down there.
So another theory that's pretty new because the movie's pretty new, but if anyone's watched Into the Spider-Verse, they use the collider and that makes everything. So they think something like CERN, something like that is what is causing all of this. My favorite theory that, I mean, I'm not the one to say that it's horseshit, but it's horseshit, is the world was supposed to end in 2012. Mayans predicted it.
But that if you that was, I don't know, how did you react to that day? Because I remember going, this is some bullshit, and then being like,
I was so excited,
like watching the clock and being like, okay, we made it, we're good.
12/21/12. So leading up to that is when my nightmares started like going all sorts of psycho, like apocalyptic shit. So 2 days before it happened, I was living in northern Michigan at the time in Mesick, and I remember seeing this decked out RV like wrapped in freaking diamond plate steel and barbed wire and like painted camo, shit ton of supplies on it. Like you could see a pallet of water that it was hauling. And I'm like, this is it. People are getting ready for it. And when it didn't happen, I was so pissed. But where the theory comes in, people think that it actually did end in 2012, that reality. But it didn't end how the Mayans predicted it.
Right, we just got booted out and kicked to another one.
That one ended. But certain memories from the old one stay with us. Some people also believe that Y2K, that actually happened. So like, and that's in between Nelson Mandela dying in prison and Nelson Mandela dying in 2013.
So it's
So
2012. So
yeah. So like up until that point, people remember him dying in the 90s up until 2000. And then like magically he's alive. So like there's a lot of theories on this.
yeah, it's definitely a mind fuck. It definitely
Really
is.
Yeah. Like I said, like that whole saying, tomorrow's not promised. This shit makes me think that nothing's promised. Like this breath that I'm taking, it's not going to exist at some point.
Well, now we're just getting off into the creepy weirdo stuff.
That's what this podcast is about, Benjamin.
Yeah, but we like good feelings here, Jake, and I get yucky feelings when
we?
you say stuff like that.
I'm just saying, like, this is why it messes with me so much. This is why I wanted to do this episode, because it is just, I mean, I can't say that it's terrifying for me because like you said, would you even know? No. But like I have 2 blood brothers. My parents have 3 kids. What if in some reality they decided to only have 2 kids? Jake would be gone. Like,
well, now I got
Benjamin.
I got the big creeps.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I do want to do another episode on this because there is so much more to it. But yeah, that's the Mandela effect.
Oof. Well, all right. Now that Jake has sufficiently given us all an existential crisis, uh, hey, thanks for listening. I guess.
Nothing's promised, people.
I guess.
Live it up.
Sorry if you're doubting your own existence right now.
See, so actually, I'm really glad you said that.
Oh God, here we
because
go.
there is a huge amount of people in the Mandela effect talk that believe that the only thing keeping us in existence is knowing that we need to keep thinking about our existence. The people who don't question it at some point cease to exist. Like there's just threads keeping us existing, and once those threads break, once you stop questioning anything, like you have to keep some sort of thought process on why you're here, whether it's thinking about like your future, like marrying someone, what your next job's going to be, getting a house, anything like that. It's future thinking that keeps you existing.
That sounds like a whole lot of too deep for this guy. Yeah. I don't want to think about that. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
So yeah, that's everything I got.
All right. Well,
a little extra.
So I'm going to say it again. Thank you guys for listening. I'm going to go huddle in a corner and rock myself for a minute.
We still got the Patreon to record after this.
But in all reality, if you guys chime in, please, with your Mandela Effect experiences, whether it's the Berenstain or the Sinbad movie or the way Fruit Loops is spelled or what have you.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even get into that.
We would love
Looney Tunes.
Yep, Looney Tunes. We would love to hear from you guys, and the best way to contact us really is the Facebook group, or the email paranaturalpodcast@gmail.com or paranaturalpodcast.com. There's a contact section. We would love to hear from you guys. With that, I will say good night.
Good night, and don't stop questioning, guys.
Don't stop questioning, or you'll stop existing. Keep asking questions.
We need listeners.
We need you.
Need listeners.
We need you.
Tell another reality about our podcast.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Good night.
Love you. Good night.